Hello, and welcome to LEGO Lovers with the Warren County Library System. My name is Sandy Roberts, and I'm the Makerspace Coordinator for the library. I love Legos. Usually, I host LEGO building programs in the Makerspace at the Southwest branch. But since things are a little different this summer, I moved my programs online instead. So now we can play with Legos together, no matter where we are. Each week, I'm featuring the works of LEGO masters and talking about all the amazing ways Legos are used for art and engineering and much more. Then you can take part in all the fun challenges at home. This week, our theme is abstract art. Behind me is one of my favorite pieces from Baus. Not only is it bright and bold, it's also got a special secret hidden in the pattern. I'll tell you more in a bit. Abstract art doesn't try to represent things in real life. Instead, it expresses ideas using shapes and forms and colors and texture. It's a visual language. Though fairly new to the art world, abstract art comes from a long line of artists interested in focusing less on representing a person or a thing or a place, and more on evoking a feeling or experimenting with media. It's an opportunity to play and create anything that you want. It gives you the chance to see in a different way and help others see that perspective as well. As the famous artist Arshile Gorky put it, abstraction allows man to see with his mind what he cannot see physically with his eyes. Okay, let's go take a look at some amazing LEGO art and artists and get inspired. Okay, let's take a look at some LEGO abstract art created by masters all over the world. We're going to start with Mike Landers. So Mike is a photographer and designer from Georgia, and I love this quote. Seeing the bold colors displayed side by side made me believe LEGO bricks would make an excellent medium for abstract art. So he kind of rediscovered LEGO and started using them as a medium for his artwork. And he started with these great bold geometric patterns, and they make me think of the work of M.C. Escher, where they're kind of optical illusions, but you could see that the bold colors of the Legos really play into these well. Now he is using the technique where you make mosaics that are stacked so that the top of the brick is here and you're actually seeing the side of the brick, which is a really nice way to get a flat surface, which works really nicely with these patterns. Then he was inspired by textiles. So he found all these great patterns, geometric patterns, and started recreating them out of LEGO. So you could see he's using just two colors, but he's creating all this amazing detail with them. And here's a couple more. These, now you can see kind of a combination of using those two colors, that kind of feel of textile, but he's also using kind of those eye-bending optical illusion patterns to it that take something as simple as just black and white Lego and make it, a really amazing piece of abstract art. Next up is Dante Totini. He actually doesn't just create Lego sculptures in an abstract art, he actually builds into structures. So this is pretty cool. He creates these kind of huge columns built of Legos that are kind of gravity defying if you look at this. I mean, think about the engineering involved in building something that can hold itself up like this. And he loves to create Legos basically in walls, as you can see. And the idea is to make Lego literally part of the structure. What's really neat is some of those little holes that you saw in the structures hide scenes inside. So not only do you have Legos becoming part of the column and part of the wall, but you can peek inside and see little scenes that he's created in there. Like this is a big concert going on inside the column. Here we have a aquatic scene with a boat, and here we have a little jungle inside. So it's not just this crazy kind of almost chaotic looking burst of color in a white wall. There's also worlds inside it, which is pretty neat. And he doesn't just do this for like museums and things. People actually have these commissioned so that they can have these kinds of structures built into the walls of their own homes, which is pretty neat if you think about it. Okay, next up Andy Baus, you may remember him from last week when we talked about his mosaics. Well, one of his mosaic series, one of his flat art series, is called New Money. And the whole idea is to ask about and question the value of money and, what money really is, what art really is. So each of these pieces isn't just a cool pattern. It's not just pretty. It's actually computer code. If you remember, Andy's a computer software designer by trade before he became an artist. So each of these pieces actually encodes for digital currency, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. And his challenge to folks that came to his exhibit was to see if they could figure out what the code was. Could they crack his code? And if they did, they claimed the money. So he's already given away about $10,000 in money at these shows as people have uncoded his artwork, which is pretty wild. I mean, abstract artwork and a very real digital life to it. As he's continued, his work has gotten more and more abstract. Instead of kind of almost those textile patterns, now we could see real bursts of just color, and they really evoke kind of almost watercolor paintings. And his most recent works kind of take the very real and make it further and further abstract. So you can see that progression. And this is all, again, speaking to what has value in our world, which is, it's just beautiful to look at. And I think it's a really interesting concept. And again, even this artwork is encoded. So if you can decode it, you can win the money, basically, win the prize. It's literally art and money in one. Okay, last up, John Moonteen. This might be my favorite for today's presentation. He is an artist and a scientist, so he's into light and shadow. He's a mathematics whiz. He's into physics. So all of his sculptures, which he calls magic angle sculptures, are designed to show that perspective matters. And the way he does that is by creating these very abstract and sometimes very colorful sculptures that when you shine light through them, actually create these shapes. You can see there's a little bit of the unicorn horn here. You can see the butterfly is actually part of this. You can see the wing a little bit. So the sculpture itself doesn't look like it has any specific form, but with just the right angle of light, you see a very specific form. Now, what's even more interesting, none of these sculptures does just one design. All of them can be rotated for 3 different shapes to come out of the shadows, which is a tremendous amount of work. Okay, it's really unique. Here's another one. These are all, you've got your mermaid, you've got your pirate ship, you've got your knight. So he's looking to tell a story here too, So it's a real interesting play on light. Very, very engineering, very architectural, and a lot of science involved. I've got a short video for you so you can see it actually in action. Let's see if this works. I encourage you to go to his website because he's got lots more of these videos of his work in action. It's really interesting to see. And we're going to skip. Okay. So some tips and tricks. These aren't specifically for Lego, but I found a great website called Artists Inspire, and they had these 6 tips on creating abstract art in general. So the first tip is look inside, not out. Instead of trying to find an image or a thing to depict, concentrate instead on how you feel and what your thoughts and experiences are. I know that's a little different than some of what we talked about before, but this time you really want to not focus on something that you see in the real world, but instead focus on just a feeling that you have and see if you can express that with Legos. Another idea, visit the masters, okay? Often there's a great tradition in artwork where you go and look at famous paintings and try to recreate them. And we've seen some of that last week and other weeks where people were recreating famous artwork. But when you're trying to do an abstract piece, you break down that image into just shapes and you ignore all the detail just to get a sense of how the picture or how that thing comes together. So instead of looking at detail, look at overall shapes. And that kind of leads into some of these ideas, starting in black and white. So you can see here, I've got a black and white, design. This lets you concentrate on the shapes themselves and the composition, how all the things go together. And it doesn't necessarily make you worry about color. So if you're feeling kind of overwhelmed by all the possibilities of Lego color that you could use, focusing on just black and whites and grays, or a very simple monochromatic color pattern, it could be all reds, for example, can help take some of that stress away and let you be a little more creative. The other thing you can do is focus on space. Look at how all of this space is really well used in this very geometrical piece of art. So you want to find balance. So in abstract art, there has to be, even if you have empty space, it needs to balance with something else in it. Okay. And make it big. One thing I've seen when I work with kids and when we're doing engineering or when we're doing maker projects, and any artist, is that often when you don't have confidence and you're just starting out, you draw small. You draw like in a little corner of the page. But if you draw big and create big, it can free you up to have more space to create. So, go for big. Fill the page with your doodles. And that's our next tip, right? Start with doodles. Sometimes you have to plan and think first. Like there's no way, this is Nathan Saway, you may remember him, Nathan Saway, sorry. And you can see there's no way that he could make something, this is a life-size sculpture, that he can make something this big without planning it first to make sure that he used space, that he had composition, that it was balanced. And again, very simple colors, right? But it really gets the whole idea across. So doodle and use the whole page. Go big. You can be very bold with your abstract art. Okay, so those are some inspirations for you as we move on to creating our own. Wow, that is some amazing artwork. Now it's your turn. What idea do you want to share? Remember, it doesn't have to look like anything real. It could be as wild, crazy, and amazing as whatever you have in your mind. Or maybe your vision is organized and patterned and specific. Whatever you have in mind, this is your chance to play and express something that maybe only you can see. Whatever you create, take a few pictures and share them. We'd love to see your work. You can share your creations using the hashtag #WarrenLib so that you can see all the amazing things that you make. Of course, if you registered for the Lego Lovers with an email, you'll be invited to be part of a special online classroom where you can share your work and see the work of others. Plus, I'll send you a newsletter filled with other fun things that you can do. Didn't register? Well, send me an email at sroberts@warrenlib.org and I'll make sure that you get an invite. If you don't want to be part of the classroom, that's okay too. Be sure to check our website at warrenlib.org for lots of great online events and our awesome summer reading program. Though we can't be together in the library quite yet, we can still create and learn together. That's it for this week. I'm Sandy Roberts for the Warren County Library System, and I'm so glad that you stopped by. Be sure to invite your friends to join us online so we can build together. See you next week for more Lego fun!